Hello. So I want to talk to you a little bit about who I am, because you should know. I mean, I almost feel like you do. I don't hide anything about myself. I'm very transparent. I couldn't if I wanted to. I don't have a poker face. I'm very much my mother's son. My mother was named Lyra. She was actually named, she was adopted. She was named La Ira because her father's name was Ira. And her mother, Gertrude, sort of pinched Methodist from like a child abuse victim, from a long line of child abuse victims. Had no idea what to do with a child, never been one. So my mama underwent actual torture. I mean, like actual torture. I mean, like repeated actual torture. And actual torture, not just randomly from somebody who's sort of, in a cycle of violence, but helplessly, not really trying to add to its momentum, just caught. And that's how I always thought Gertie is Ira. I liked my mom's adopted father, Ira, a lot. He was great. You would have liked him. He was a man's man, Ira. Now, he was the kind of guy that Hillary Clinton likes to call deplorable, Ira. Because he didn't prettify himself. He didn't gentrify himself. He'd had a life. He'd seen a lot of violence. What he saw appalled him. He had a very tender heart. Ira Guy was his name. And he was a guy. He was a real guy. My mom's maiden name was Guy, and I just sort of love it because she was a real guy. She was a good guy. I'm not a big on goodness, but I believe in good guys. I'm a good guy. If you can't tell that, you're in trouble. I don't know what to do for you. It's too late, I think, for you. But for the rest of us, I know a thing or two about a thing or two because I've had opportunities to learn that other people haven't. And that's all. And they're not related to having money or this. They're related to a side of history that we don't hear about or don't even really let ourselves believe in. Even when we're activists, I think we often doubt that what we're doing is more than a performance, that it has any actual potential to transform the world. Well, it does, and it will. I always tell young people that because it's the truth. It's always, the question is always how. Because how is a matter of life and death right now. And I mean, it has been. It's always been a matter of life and death. 500 centuries of European colonization. 500 centuries of European colonialism. We've learned nothing at the level of power, what we call power, nothing to do with it. That's just crooks. That's just a gang of inbred crooks that the British continue to identify with and call the royal family. It's just a gang of crooks making claims of genetic superiority. The divine right of kings is just a claim of genetic superiority, like the caste system is a claim of genetic superiority. It is anti-earthling. It is anti-human. It is profoundly hostile to life, and it won't matter what complexion the next system of domination has. It will be more hostile to life than the one that preceded it. It'll be worse than capitalism. It'll be worse than fascism. You don't want to do nothing. I'm going to say it again. I don't care who you are, or what your opinions are, or how rich you are, or how invested you are in your own comfort, or the comfort and safety as you understand those words of your near and dear. I don't care. I know things you lack the courage to know. I know things you lack the compassion to learn. I know things that are obvious to every living organism on this planet, as you call it, as if it were a rock in space. Nobody else does that. Nobody else expresses love of life on earth by choice, with a word as sterile, as absolutely devoid of any enthusiasm for life or preference for more life rather than less. That's the Christian preference, is more life rather than less. What does Jesus say? Not to condemn, but to save life and life abundantly, that you might know, a word which means, just in case science ever decides it wants to try thinking as part of the scientific method, thinking what you're doing is called political thought. If you don't do that, but you engage in science, you are part of barbarism. You're part of the technocracy of the concentration camp. A scientific undertaking, grounded in American eugenics, which are still, unfortunately, that eugenic mindset that expressed itself tragically, as one might say, in the tragedy of the commons. You know, when they use the word common, a certain demographic, what they mean is of no value. So if you wonder why the world we live in appears to be devoid of common sense, it's because it's run by rich people who think that if something is common, it's of no value. They think that is true of water, so they don't care for water. They think that's true of land, so they don't care for land. They think that's true generally, for the messy things that move about on their own, without permission, without consulting shareholders and their need to have their value maximized. I mean, this is how the money men think about life on earth. It's how they think about you. It's how they do not. You know who never sings happy birthday to you? The rich. When you're born, as far as the rich are concerned, you're born in debt. You have to earn the space you occupy, the air that you breathe. You have to. They don't. 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 It's a pattern. I have very good pattern recognition. It's a pattern. Take my word for it. No matter where you look, there it is. Just like the plastic, just like those. Sorry. You know, right? When a mother lion snarls, it's not rage. She's not roaring yet. How dare you, any of you, great white nopes. Nope, no life for you. Too risky. Might get an ouchie. How dare you, great white nopes, say no to life on my behalf? How dare you? How dare you say no to life on earth on behalf of our farm workers? How dare you? prance about as if you were environmentalists because you buy up the environment and use it to suck the vitality out of other human beings by turning them into renters who can't enjoy the right to shelter without doing some horribly unsustainable and degrading thing for your amusement. I'm done with you. But I'm done with you in exactly the same way that life on earth is done with you. Life on earth is patient. Life on earth is endlessly forgiving of those who want to live. And then there are boundaries. What does Jesus say? Here's a boundary. People were constantly saying to him, because they knew that, something that they knew inside, they used to know because they used to be part of a people. They used to be part of a tradition that wove them together with life here and now, but also with all life everywhere. Because life has to be woven together. That's a Jewish understanding. That's from a Jewish school of mysticism, but it's not uniquely Jewish. That understanding that we have to weave life together. It's what we're for, is weaving life together into a richer pattern, not a depleted one. Not a depleted one. Now you listen to me. You listen to me good. There's an awful lot of projection going on with the rich and the science. There's an awful lot of projection. If science were honest, here's what it would say. And then we wouldn't have to read any more of these damn reports. If science was honest, it would say, look, we always knew that a fossil-fueled industrial revolution would cause the earth to overheat. And we did it anyway, for money and power and feeling important, to prove that our knowledge mattered, to prove that we mattered. Just say that. Just confess. It was your industrial revolution. Kings didn't make it up. Science did. The church didn't make it up. Science did. Money men didn't make it up. Science did. Science did it. Science made an extinction factory and called it an economy. I mean, what's it economizing on again? Oh, life. Right, we're economizing on life. Wait, what? Wait, why? Isn't life the thing that's... I thought the whole thing about scarcity was that it was a way of talking about, being mortal. And not about not being self-sufficient individually, if we think of ourselves as isolated, passive individuals who are at some point in a vertical pecking order, a vertical chain of predation, or what an economist everyone should read, who's not a socialist, who doesn't talk about ecology, because he has another point that's real important to make, named William Lazanick. Just go read it so that you can have a new thought. Profits Without Prosperity. Start there. And then just read whatever he writes that's short. He can go on. Read whatever he writes that's short. He wrote a wonderful piece in the New York Times. Find it. Little editorial. Talks about, I think it's over a decade when Obama and Biden were in the White House. 94% maybe of corporate profits. The profits of the most profitable, heavily capitalized, the big money corporations. The corporations that have now dominated and consolidated most human activity, appropriated it for themselves, along with the resources, to abuse with the humans, along with the humans. Because each of us, of course, is unique, and for that reason, infinitely precious. That was the lesson of World War II. Look at what happened after World War II in America. Look at what happened. We came back. Now, there was a fear that veterans in America we'd be right back to people wanting to end capitalism if we had another depression. There was a real fear coming back from World War II. And one of the things they did to defend the system, not to change it, was that they made a GI Bill thinking no one would take advantage of this benefit. Because, of course, the poor didn't want to learn. But they made a GI Bill that gave veterans access to any university, even the elite universities. Like for real access, like the entire cost of your education, plus a living stipend. Yes, a stipend. You didn't even have to work and earn every penny and never sleep while you're doing the studies that are going to, help you decide what your profession should be and how to practice it. Oh, that's not good. These institutions of higher learning, learning, are you high? I don't think you're learning. I'd be teaching in a university if what I have to teach could be taught there. It's not possible. The man who taught me was about to be driven out of the board of politics at UCSC. He would have been. Yeah. He was defended because he was the most accomplished professor of any kind. More accomplished than the political scientists. Just better at what he did. Better as an educator, but better as a student. Professors are either good students or they're terrible teachers. It's one or the other. But in revolutionary times, that whole student-teacher thing goes right out the window because everybody has to learn very quickly new roles. That's where we are. It's okay. It's all right. We've survived many revolutions. We'll survive this. This is a good revolution. This isn't the same one. This isn't a rerun. This is the revolution. The difference here is that we're going to have another post-war order. And this one won't be based on nation states armed to the teeth, competing in a completely antisocial way for scarce resources, but then not even using them when they acquire them in a life-affirming way or a life-serving way or a life-preserving way, let alone a life-enhancing way or enlivening way. Because the truth, get ready, sit down, science. Even Peter should sit down. My dear friend Peter Kalmus, who earned a chance to sit. That man is the best man I know. He's the bravest man I know. There's no one like him. There's no one better than Peter Kalmus. I don't care what color you are. He's as good as it gets. What does he call himself? What's his Twitter handle? Does he call himself climate expert? Climate know-it-all? Mr. Climate Wizard? No. Peter Kalmus is a NASA climate scientist. I adore that man. So does everyone else. You have to adore him. What's adorable about Peter isn't just adorable like a pet. Peter is a universal human being. He's so honest in coming to terms because he knows that science did this. Science knows. Science is full of wonderful people. I always enjoy it. I mean, I think of Peter and Catherine Hale as parents. I really do. I think you're parents of people of our complexion, a whole generation of young people who would otherwise despair of adult leadership, and especially leadership from science, if it weren't for people like you. Peter saved all of us after COP26, all of us. And Greta saved us right at COP26. We just all have to start admitting what we're doing. The work is not being done at these fancy schmancy conferences. The work is not being done at Davos, for God's sake. I wish money was beating down, the door. I'm constantly inviting. I always invite. I have to say, I was very impressed by Apple. I called Apple, and what was I doing? I was having a bit of an emergency because I'd had a computer stolen, had a lot of names on it that I needed to keep safe. Turned out they were safe. Person who stole it was too stupid to access it, but I was having a moment. I was in the hospital too. It was not a good moment for me to be trying to manage anything. Anyhow, I got this like angel of a human on the phone at Apple, which is, I hate to say, not the usual experience. If you're trying to use Apple Care, I'd up the care there, Apple. Not quite caring enough, that Apple Care. But this person sure was. See, the individuals are almost always fine. They don't feel fine, though, because they're working for companies where even the executives don't feel fine. They're receiving so much of their pay in the form of stock and stock options, it's almost impossible. Because it's not just them, it's all executives. And they all have to get along, and there's a lot of pressure is all I'm saying. I'm not making excuses. There is no excuse. That's not the point. The point is that the only way to be together in the world as a people in a less alienated, maladapted, life-destroying, and life's value negating, weird idea of economy. Because it starts with a total devaluation of life. If you don't understand what I'm saying, I'd be happy to teach you. And really, I need some white people to learn. Not white, you know what I mean. Pinkos like me. You don't have to be a communist, just be intelligent. And prefer that life go on, but prefer it with prejudice. Prefer it emphatically, and prefer it universally, and prefer it right the hell now for Palestine, over and out.